Welcome to another edition of the Mo Show Live, everybody. Hey, I'm Morris Lilienthal. If you follow me on social media, you know I am passionate about working with kids. I am a proud parent and love spending time with my son. And when I do so, I love working with the other kids in his class. When I volunteer and read at his school, my wife's a public school teacher. I love interacting and have volunteered at the school, interacting and help coaching some of his sports. But certainly passionate about making sure that every child has an opportunity to succeed in life. And to do so, they need the resources and tools to do that. And so that's what today's show is about. Our guest on the Mo Show Live today is Patrick Wynn. Pat is the president of the Boys and Girls Club of North Alabama. We're going to be talking about his organization's mission, the programs and services they offer here locally, and other things that the club does to try to promote better opportunities for the youth in our area and really in all the other clubs around the country. So without further ado, let me formally introduce Patrick Wynn. He's the president of the Boys and Girls Club here in North Alabama. Patrick is a native of Huntsville. He's a Huntsville High graduate. He is a 1993 graduate of the University of Southern Mississippi. He played football and played defensive back down at Southern Miss. A really cool, interesting stat that I saw, Pat, when I was doing a little research was that you had 5 straight games, I think in 1990, where you had block kicks. That's pretty impressive. And was also a member of, I know at least one year down there when my brother was a member down there, where I think I had an Alabama State Championship T-shirts where y'all beat Alabama and Auburn in one or 2 years down there. But he's also a member of the Huntsville-Madison County Athletic Hall of Fame. He started working for the Boys and Girls Club in 1998, and he is a 2013 was selected by the Boys and Girls Club of America as the Southeast Region Executive of the Year. So I'm really excited to have Pat Wynn on to talk about all the great things the Boys and Girls Club offers for our youth. Pat, how are you doing today? And thanks for your time.
I'm doing well, Morris. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the opportunity to give me the chance to come in on your show and just talk about Boys and Girls Club and the great work that we're trying to do for young people in our area.
Well, it's so important, and I meant that when I started out the show there, is that all kids have it within them. I really do believe that. And I think what separates a lot of the kids that succeed and don't sometimes is the opportunities that are afforded to them and the resources and tools. And you guys are providing them to them. That's what I want to talk to you about. And before we kind of get going, folks, if you're watching the live show, please comment. I'll be watching the feed over here and say hello. If you've got questions about the Boys and Girls Club, let us know. I'll be glad to try to get you any questions during the interview today. If you're watching the recorded show now and you got questions, put it in the comments. I'll be watching that, and Pat and I can try to get back to you and get you any answers or resources to provide you information about the Boys and Girls Club. And finally, if you're watching the live or recorded show, please like and share this. The purpose of today's show is to highlight this great organization so we can provide more resources and tools for the youth here locally and for other Boys and Girls Clubs around the country. So you can help us by doing that by simply just hitting like or share. So Pat, I guess the first thing I'd like to touch on is to start out is, can you give us, I know you guys have clubs all over the country. Can you kind of give our audience an understanding of the corporate structure and then how it starts out nationally and then here locally and then kind of what the mission of the club and organization is?
Yeah, absolutely. So our national organization is, we're all under the umbrella of Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And our corporate headquarters is in Atlanta, Georgia. And we actually just had our national president here in Huntsville on Martin Luther King Day. We did a service project over in Decatur, Alabama. Morris, we recently just acquired the Decatur Boys and Girls Clubs to come under our umbrella here in Huntsville. And so we did a facelift project of one of the oldest clubs over in Decatur. And as it's all about unity, celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. And so we brought 2 organizations together. We merged the Boys and Girls Clubs of North Alabama, which is headquartered here in Huntsville, with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Morgan County, which is in Decatur. And so we had our national president here in town. It was a great day for our organization. You don't always get your national president on your soil in your local community. And so it was a great day for us. But in terms of how we work, we're all our own entities, and our local organizations are ran by your local board. We're governed by our local board. And so, but the Boys and Girls Clubs of America provide great resources for us, great training, and there are some pass-through dollars that come through Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Now, when I say pass-through, they don't provide us our whole budget. I want to make that clear. A lot of people wonder why we're out raising money all the time because, we're just like we're franchised pretty much. They have resources for training, and guidance and oversight. But in terms of fundraising, we have to do that. We have to do funds that come through Boys and Girls Clubs.
Okay. Okay. So you guys, the local club here is really run by the local board of directors, and you guys,
Absolutely.
have, I guess, a charter and have some guidelines from the national organization, but the activities that you guys do on a day in, day out basis, and how you interact with the local communities and local school system is really dependent upon what you and the board does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, can you kind of tell us kind of what is the mission of the organization? What are you guys trying to accomplish when you're working with kids in our local areas and really around the country?
Well, we have a code and a mission statement, but in simple terms, our mission is to serve the kids that need us the most. And by design, Amores Boys and Girls Clubs have set up in the most needed areas, most neediest areas, public housing, rural areas, Indian reservations. But of late we've opened sites in school-based sites. Locally we have
Okay.
two school-based sites. So we have Boys and Girls Clubs that operate in schools after school every day. And we have three priority outcome areas. Our three priority outcome areas is academic success, character and citizenship, and healthy lifestyles. Now we have a ton of programs that we run, but all of those programs fall in one of those three priority outcome areas.
Okay.
Right now, our organization as a movement, we have our national president Jim Clark. We have a Great Futures Plan, 2025, and what that is more is we have like 1,242 Boys and Girls Clubs statewide, and so by 2025, our national president wants that to be cut in half to about 600 clubs. And so, what does that mean? What does that mean? It means less oversight and more money can go back into the clubs to serve kids more efficiently and more effectively.
So let me get this straight then, Pat. You're saying right now we've got around 1,200 clubs in the state of Alabama, and you want to
No,
the
no,
national
1,200 clubs in all of the United States.
United States. Okay,
Yes.
that's where clarity there. So
1,200,
you got
1,200 organizations, Morris,
okay,
1,200 organizations. Now,
okay,
in the state of Alabama, we have 21 organizations.
okay. And within
And
each organization, there may be multiple clubs that come within
yes,
that
like
specific local
like
organization.
locally, we have 12 clubhouses. Where the Boys and
Okay.
Girls Clubs of North Alabama umbrella, we have 12 different facilities.
And we're trying, I guess the national chapter is wanting to kind of centralize that some to provide better resources that maybe you're not overreaching and stepping on each other, trying to raise funds and do certain things. And you feel like you just, kind of centralize everything to help run a more efficient operation to provide better services, what I
Yeah,
presume
and
is
that
what you're talking
and that's the key is just be more efficient, provide better quality services for kids and better outcomes. The key is
about.
outcomes.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I want to thank our guests for joining us and also thank people for joining in here. Bernard Nomberg down in Birmingham, Pam Morgan, Brett Jonesy, Brian O'Connor. Thank you guys all for joining us. Um, Pat, I guess I'm curious, what drew you to the Boys and Girl Clubs? Why, what's been your passion for you to serve this great organization for the last 20 plus years?
Well, since I left Southern Miss and graduated from Southern Miss, I've always worked with young people. That's my calling. Growing up where I grew up, a lot my background is very similar to a lot of the kids we serve. I grew
Mhm.
up in inner city Huntsville, and at a very early age, I know I felt like a calling was on my life to be able to provide some leadership to young people. Even though I grew up in some of those same circumstances, Morris, I just always felt like that there was something different, and I figured going to college would be the best way to get out of my environment. And once I graduated college, I always had a burning desire to come back to Huntsville and provide leadership with youth.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, and we're so thankful that you did. And I think it's so important that people that succeed that come back and give back because that provides opportunities for the next generation and do that, and that speaks volumes to you and the others around the community that do that. How many, on average, Pat, how many boys and girls are serviced by the North Alabama Boys and Girls Clubs here on a
During the
monthly
school
daily
year,
basis?
Morris, we serve right at about 900 kids a day. And
Wow.
but when I say that, it's not just Huntsville. In the North Alabama charter, we have facilities in Scottsboro, Limestone County, Huntsville, and now Decatur. And
Okay.
so, but before even adding Decatur, we were around about 900. And now since we've added Decatur, we're a little over 1,000 a day. In the summertime, we may serve 1,200 kids a day, 1,250, close to 1,300 kids a day during the summer.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of kids that are benefiting from the programs that your organization is offering. Again, and folks, if you're just joining us, our guest on the Mo Show Live today is Pat Wynn. He is the president of the North Alabama chapter of the Boys and Girls Club, and we're talking about the mission of the organization. And now I want to kind of turn our focus to some of the programs that you guys offer. And you kind of mentioned the 3 areas that you kind of focus on just a few minutes ago, Pat. And I think one of the big ones certainly is academic success. So let's start there. I know you guys, I did a little research and saw there was a bunch of programs and we could spend a lot more than 30 minutes talking about them.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd like to kind of just highlight just a couple of them there. If you kind of can talk about a couple of the programs that you guys really think are ones that you see a lot of success and that you have a lot of need for in doing in terms of the academic programs. Can you touch on a couple of those for us?
Well, being here in Huntsville more is one of the biggest things we did very early on was we made sure that we had, this may seem small to a lot of people, but we have adequate Wi-Fi in all of our facilities because all of our kids are 1-to-1 digital teaching ratio where all the kids have laptops. So when you serve kids that come from poverty and low income areas, there's no access to Wi-Fi at home. And so all of their instructional work is being done on the laptop. And so if they don't have Wi-Fi at home, they can't compete and they can't keep up. And so that's one of the first things we did at our Boys and Girls Clubs to make sure we had adequate Wi-Fi and, all of the speed we needed for our kids to use. But the biggest thing every day is what we do every day, what we call Power Hour. So every day the kids come in after school and we feed them a hot meal and then they go for an hour. They do homework, some kind of homework help, some kind of tutor help, and just reading. And we're always have volunteers. We have 3 great universities here locally, and we always have college students that are coming in volunteering, retired teachers, and then our staff. We have trained staff. A lot of times people think that the Boys and Girls Clubs is just a bunch of volunteers, but volunteers are great, but you can't depend on volunteers to show up each and every day and be trained to work with the staff the way we need them. We need our young people to be worked with. And one of the biggest things we've done over the years, Morris, is we created a partnership with Huntsville City Schools, and we work very closely with Huntsville City Schools. And so all of our staff and our clubs that work in our education departments, they have the ability to get a parent a permission to kind of give us rights to talk to the teacher about their kids' individual education plan. And so we monitor report cards, we collect report cards, we track grades, and so we can be an advocate for each young person that walks through the Boys and Girls Clubs at the school systems.
That's so important. Pat, I just want to say our friend Brett Jones, he said to tell you hello, and he said you and your organization are doing great things, and he recommended that people out there take a tour. And so folks, if you want to get a tour of the great things that are going on, I'm sure Pat can give us a resource to where we can hook you up to do that, and we'll put that link in the show notes afterwards in the comments. But, folks, if you're just watching, and if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know my wife teaches in the Huntsville, Madison City Schools, which is a little different, but if I'm not mistaken, in the Huntsville City Schools, their books are all electronic now. So if those kids go home, they don't have a hardback book to take home. So having that Wi-Fi access or the potential to do activities. I know my son is in 3rd grade, and over the last couple of years, he's frequently logging in to do extracurricular activities and games that are math games or doing AR tests, things that are directly tied to Wi-Fi. And as you pointed out, we people who have, sometimes we forget some of those little things like that, and that's a big deal.
Yes, that's a huge deal. When it first happened, our kids there in the inner city and the public housing sites, I mean, they had no access, and that's something that I wish could have been thought out before it happened.
Right.
But when it did happen, that's the first thing I went to my board and said, hey, we got to spend some money to make sure that our facilities are equipped with Wi-Fi, because in order for our kids to compete, they have to have access to Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and I think that and I'm not sure if I'm calling it right, but I think this intervention, the urgent intervention type program, the intervention program that you have, where you guys work with the parents or guardians to get permission to work with the school systems to find out the needs for those children. Maybe they have a deficit in math or a deficit in reading or something that's going on. or learning disability that you guys can then get a tutor or find something right to help them get on the right track. Because that's so important at any age, but especially at the younger ages, the second, third, and fourth grade level, that if they don't have the adequate reading skills by about the third or fourth grade, they are so far behind the curve that they really can't ever catch up, is what statistics show. And that's what I understand, Pat, and that's great that you guys do that. I know you guys also have, when it comes to academic success, I saw some stuff about some STEM programs in the summer. And then one that I really thought was really neat, Pat, was this Money Matters program that I saw that you guys provide for more teenagers, that provides them education and training on real life activities of, checkbooks, college, how to pay for college, and how to probably draft their resume and all these kind of things about investment. Those are life skills that a lot of people just don't have, that don't learn until a later age, if they learn at all. And providing them that in their teenage years is so important.
Right. Yeah, I want to go back to the STEM labs. We have STEM labs. It's not just summer. We have physical STEM labs, and we have 5 STEM labs. We opened our first one at Williams Elementary, and since then we've opened 4 more STEM labs. And so what that is kids get the opportunity to go in and, it's like those side quests that was here in Huntsville that went out of business. Yeah. And so we have our own little side quests, and our facilities. It's 3D printers. It's robotics. They're doing stuff that I don't even know what, I couldn't even tell you what it is, but we have our STEM directors there that are all, this is their expertise. And so what we've done as an organization is we understand that we may not be STEM teachers, but we've hired STEM teachers to come in and teach our STEM education. And so also in our education departments and our clubs, we've hired retired school teachers to come and run our education departments. And so I think one thing you said earlier was resources. And I believe every kid can be successful with the right type of environment. So it's up to us as adults to provide the right tools for our kids in their toolboxes. A lot of kids have what it takes, but if they haven't been exposed, they haven't had the opportunity to get exposed to what success looks like. And one thing we have to understand is success looks different for everybody. For some kids, success may not be a 4-year university. It may be going to Drake State and getting your barber license, or it may be going to getting your plumbing license. So what we've tried to do is bring real life situations to our kids and let them understand that you don't have to go to a 4-year university to be successful. But at the same time, we do have those kids that are going to 4-year universities being successful.
I think that's a great point, and that's something that my wife and I have talked about often, and that she expresses when sometimes parents come to her upset about grades and she says, look, hey, a B for some child is successful in that subject
Absolutely.
matter. They may struggle in that subject. While they may be an excellent math student, a B or a C plus in reading for that child may be perfect. And hey, I can tell you what, if you need a plumber or welder or something like that, those people make a good living, and we need those kind of people in our market today. And so those kind of people can have a very, very successful career, very successful life. Right. Pat, I want to kind of turn real quick to a couple of the other key focal points that you guys focus on in the club, and that's the character and leadership. Can you talk a little bit about that? I saw something about the Youth of the Year program and a Torch Club. Can you kind of talk about some of the 1 or 2 key things that you guys focus on with the character and leadership programs that you offer?
Yeah, Youth of the Year is the highest honor a young person can be named at Boys and Girls Clubs. We're actually having our annual Youth of the Year luncheon a week from today, actually. February 13th, at 11:30 at James A. Lane Club, Morris. And what this is there's teens from all of our clubs, and so teens, they have to apply for Youth of the Year, and there's a huge packet that they have to fill out, everything from transcripts, support letters from the teachers, their pastors, community leaders, and so then there's an interview phase, and we have local business people to come and interview, and everything from how to dress, eye contact, and how to present themselves in an interview. And then they have to give a speech on why they deserve to be Youth of the Year. And so it's an amazing honor. And so we have it every year, and we name a Youth of the Year for our entire organization. And once we name our Youth of the Year, they go to Montgomery in April and compete for the statewide Youth of the Year. And so if you win the Youth of the Year for your organization, then you compete for statewide Youth of the Year for Boys and Girls Clubs for the state of Alabama. And if you're fortunate enough to win that, you go compete regionally. There's 5 regions in Boys and Girls Clubs. And so, and then if you win regional, you get a chance to go to the White House and then compete for the National Youth of the Year award. And it's a great
Wow.
honor to be named Youth of the Year. A young person can receive up to $100,000 in scholarships, being the National Youth of the Year, and it's just a great honor. And that's one of the great things we do at Boys and Girls Club, teaching teens how to be ready for that. And every person that's gone through our Youth of the Year program, they always talk about, even though they didn't win, the whole process of being interviewed, putting a packet together, speaking in front of people, prepared them for the real world.
Yeah, it's a lot of times, Pat, my experience has been and been involved in with children and working with children and being the spouse of a teacher has been a lot of times kids don't have exposure to certain things. And that by being exposed to these things that it's like anything else. It's like, before you get out there to go play on Saturday and you've got all those reps all week or you've got all summer that you're getting prepared. They need that experience and to know what to expect. And you're providing them that opportunity by going through the interviewing process, by putting together a resume, by doing all the things that they need to do to apply for the Youth of the Year. So even though they may not get that particular award because it's so selective and there's only one person in each club or that's done, they have that experience. So when they're going forward in life, they can lean back on that. So that's really, really cool. So real quick, I want to jump in because we're getting close on time here, and I have a couple of things that I wanted to hit on. And I wanted to hit on kind of talk about the lifestyle thing, the healthy lifestyle thing. 'Cause I think that's so important, and especially for children that I think come from lower socioeconomic statuses. They may not have the opportunities to have the best exposure to the best eating lifestyles and the other things that might be afforded to other kids who have a little bit more with their parents and guardians that can provide that to them.
Yeah, the healthy lifestyles is a huge component in our clubs. Everything from what are you putting in your body to the environment that you're in, and then the decisions you make in life. You talked about it. We have programs called Triple Play, and it's mind, body, and soul. And it's teaching kids how to be active, how to take care of your mind, and how to take care of your soul with the things you in the environment you're keeping yourself in. There's so many things, Morris, that we take for granted, and you use one of my favorite words is lack of exposure. We always tell our kids to dream, but if all you know, if it's a little small community and there's a lot of negative things going around and a lot of bad habits, what can you really dream about? And there's a friend of mine that gave me a saying that I've always thought at the Boys and Girls Club. What we do at the Boys and Girls Club, we allow kids to dream better dreams, and that's so powerful to me. We want our kids to dream, but if you have a lack of access, if you don't have the right tools in your toolbox, if you haven't been exposed, if you hadn't seen a father in your home getting up going to work every day, a father showing you how to treat a woman, what can you dream about? And so we try to put all of these examples in front of our kids at Boys and Girls Club so they can dream better dreams.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things, you really are a lot of times a product of your environment. And if you're not seeing the right example set, then there's a good chance you may not have that best chance to succeed. So by you guys providing that environment for them, that certainly gives each of the children that visit the Boys and Girls Club a better opportunity to succeed. As we wrap up, you kind of hit on this a little bit earlier, but talk a little bit about, Pat, here, our local Boys and Girls Club, how you get your funding and how if people have a passion for supporting you guys, how they can support you.
Well, like I said, we're under the national umbrella for Boys and Girls Clubs of America. We get some support there, a very small amount of support from our national office. But it's up to us, like once again, Morris, our local board and our local administration, my administration team. We have a grant writer, we have a resource development director, and probably 85% of my time is out in the community speaking at companies and engaging community leaders about why they should invest in Boys and Girls Clubs. It's invested in the future. It's a long time ago, I asked my board, we're not a charity. We're not a charity. We are a nonprofit. And there's a big difference. We're providing resources. We're turning kids around that's become successful citizens of this community. And so we want people to invest in what we're doing. Our kids they're our future. And without investing in our young people, what do we have to look forward to? And so we write grants more. We do an annual fundraiser every summer. I don't know if you heard the Leaders and Legends annual event that we have every summer.
Okay.
We've every year we've had ex-athletes. Last year we had Charles Barkley. Year before that we had Emmitt Smith. We've had Nick Saban. We've had Gus Malzahn. We've had Bo Jackson. And so we do that every summer in July. It's a very successful fundraiser. This summer we're going to have another one, July 18th at Von Braun Center North Hall. And but we're out in the community every day, Morris. My resource development director and I are speaking at companies in Research Park. And then we're just, asking people to support our efforts and what we do. We have a system in place in terms of grants. We're resourcing grants and writing grants to provide resources for our clubs and our communities, and just to be able to, we just fill in the gap at Boys and Girls Clubs, whatever it takes for a young person to be successful. And we just want kids to know success is within their grasp. If they can, just go to school and listen to what we're saying. And then once a kid is in our clubs, if we can keep a kid until they're in the 10th grade, we have like a 98% graduation rate from high school. And so,
Wow.
And that just goes to show you repetition, relationships, and it's a recipe for success.
Yeah. I think all the things that we've talked about today, from the academics, the leadership and character, and then certainly the lifestyle, all those things are just a great match to produce the resources and tools and the opportunity for people to succeed in life. And that's all they need. Most kids, if you give them the opportunity and they have the right exposure to the right things, like you said, 98% success of graduating from high school, if they're around you guys long enough to get through the 10th grade with you guys, that speaks volumes for what you guys are doing here. And I really want to encourage people to support this organization. If you work for an organization that is looking to give back and help in our local community, especially to help our young people, this is one that I would really recommend you getting involved with. And Pat, how can people, if they want to learn more, if they want to take a tour like Brett recommended, how can they get in touch with you guys, and what's the best way to keep track of everything that's going on with Boys and Girls Club?
Well, you could call our offices, our 256-534-6060, or you can go to our website, Boys and Girls Clubs of North Alabama, our website or Facebook page. Anybody could, what's one of my favorite things to do, Morris, is give people tours of what we do at our Boys and Girls Clubs. We can sit on Facebook and we can talk about the programming, but until you actually see it in action, a lot of people have a perception of what they think Boys and Girls Clubs is. And once they come in and they see the structure, they see the schedules, and they see the organization, people are always in awe of, like, I had no idea that you guys did so much. And so that's one of the joys of my job, is being able to give people tours and educate the public on the impact of Boys and Girls Clubs and the young people that we're serving. The difference between us and schools is a teacher has a kid for 9 months. Well, kids start at Boys and Girls Clubs at 5 years old. Sometimes we have them until they're 18. And so there's years and years of building relationships and trust. And a lot of times we become surrogate parents to kids. And kids have to go to school. They don't have to come to the Boys and Girls Clubs. They want to be there. And so that goes to show you the value of positive peer relationships. And the thing, there's something that we call club magic, Morris. At the Boys and Girls Club, a kid can be a kid. In today's society, there's so much pressure in this world about where you fit, what socioeconomic status you fit in, and what group you fit in. At the Boys and Girls Clubs, when you see young people in our clubs, they're just being kids. They're just having fun, and they're loving the environment they're in, and they want to be there each and every day. And, that's some club magic, what we call. And, there's nothing like being a kid. And so that alone has really allowed us to have a lot of success in our organization.
Well, that's awesome. And you're right. There's nothing like being a kid. And I love still being a big kid. And that's one of the reasons I love being around kids. I really do think it keeps you young. You get enthusiasm and energy from them and then, and when that light bulb goes off for a kid, and when they turn that corner on something that's been a challenge to them, it's so uplifting for you when you work with them and do. And I know you guys that work at the organization and that are volunteering there with you guys, see that on a day in, day out basis, and that's got to provide you just so much joy and keeps you coming back and getting up and working as hard as you guys work. So folks, if you're watching today's show, I'm going to put a link to the Boys and Girls Club in North Alabama in the comments, and I'll tag them in the Facebook page. So if you've got questions or comments, please reach out to them and then take Pat up on his request to take a tour. Do that. And if you're watching in another state or doing out there, contact your local Boys and Girls Club and reach out to them and take a tour. See what's going on out there. Because I know, we're certainly proud of what we're doing here at our local chapter, but there are other chapters, I'm sure Pat can confirm, that are doing the same things in other areas all across this country. So, Pat, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I want to thank you so much for what you're doing for our community and for our youth. And I want to tell you to keep at it, and because our kids are our future, and we're so glad that you're working with them.
Thanks for having me and giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And please like and share the show so we can spread the Boys and Girls Club's mission. Thanks.